Hello all, welcome back to Be Creative. In this week's video, I am making 3 tags in a very different color palette than I normally work in. I wanted to do something in neutrals. I'm also using some mediums that I've had sitting around for a while and haven't used, and I thought I would try to do something creative with them. Just a heads up, this video did get sped up super fast. That's because it was getting kind of long and I don't want to talk for 17 minutes. But it won't typically be sped up this much going forward. So I'm starting the project by building some collage fodder. I am using my left hand with some black gesso on regular, I think that's Tim Holtz plain collage paper. I'm just painting with my left hand. Now mind you, I am not ambidextrous, nor am I left-handed. My dominant hand is right. And I do this sometimes when I want to paint something that looks a little bit less contrived and more organic. I've also found that painting with my left hand gives me permission to make mistakes. If I do it with my right hand and it's crap, I feel bad. But if it's my left hand, I'm like, that's okay, it was my left hand. This is the second piece of collage material that I'm making. I'm using regular masking tape because that's what I had handy, and some Stays-On ink, and a variety of different Dina Wakley script stamps, and I'm literally just stamping over top of the tape. I've seen quite a few people do this, to be honest, so I can't credit one individual artist, but when you tear it apart, as you can see to the right, it breaks it up and it just looks really cool. And you can do that with almost any stamp. Like it always looks kind of badass. So now I'm moving on to the base layers of my tags. I took some Liquitex paint in unbleached white, and using my finger I literally just put it down over the tag. There was nothing special about it, though I did make sure not to cover up the whole tag. Now I have some Black Soot Distress Spray Stain, and I'm using that Dina Wakley mask as kind of like a stamp, and I'm going right over top of it. This did take a minute to dry, just a heads up, and I wound up using my heat gun because I'm impatient. Now I'm taking some of that masking tape with the script stamp over top of it, and I'm literally just applying it down the corner of the tag. I don't really have a plan as to where this goes. I'm just kind of going off like what looks good and what feels good as I'm doing it. I've been experimenting with more abstract collage here lately, and I really wanted to incorporate that into one of the tags. So I have a piece of book paper that I folded up, and I'm cutting it in half folded, if that wasn't obvious what I was doing. And I'm going to cut like the inside of the little square to make these thin rectangular shapes. I see a lot of people do this, but they usually do circles, and I mean circles are awesome, but I don't know, this tag just felt like it needed uneven rectangles and squares. I didn't like the big one, so I'm not going to use that one, and I wind up cutting just another really small square shape at the top. But if you're following along, save the big one, because I wind up using it for the second tag. I'm going to set that aside to dry and start working on my second tag. Now for this tag I did something that I don't normally do. I am using super heavy gel medium, and if you do this I would suggest using the super heavy versus the regular so that you'll have a little bit more texture. I'm going to mix into it some Shimmer Powder by Nuvo. They're basically powdered watercolors. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're super pigmented. I just don't use them very often, and I want to try to be different, be a little fancy. So I thought that the gloss from the gel medium would work really well with the shimmer powder, you know, because it shimmers. I wasn't wrong. It's actually really pretty. The pictures and the video don't do it justice. You probably don't need as much as I used. So I'm going through the stencil, and I think that's a Stencil Girl stencil. I don't know. Check the box below for a list of full supplies used. And I'm applying it just like texture paste. You may be thinking, why didn't you use texture paste? And it's because I didn't want all that texture. I just wanted a little bit. So while that's drying, I'm starting the third tag, and you can see I'm using some of the collage paper that we made at the beginning of the video. I just cut it out because I have a hard time cutting the Tim Holtz collage paper, or tearing it rather. It's hard for me to tear it. Anyway, once that's dry, this is the other medium that I don't use very often, and those are Nuvo Glacier drops, in black, that color in particular, and I'm using it again almost like texture paste through the stencil. I have a crap ton of those that I never use because I get tired of just putting dots on stuff. And so I'm just trying to be like different and creative with it. It actually worked really nice. It was great. So now I am starting on the focal point for this tag. And this is where I'm going to use up all those random pieces of book paper so I don't waste them. I'm using a little bit more of that collage paper that I made, and I'm just haphazardly gluing this down. I could have cut all this out, but in case you're new to collage, I think sometimes it's helpful to see how people place stuff and how you build your layers. Not that I'm an expert on collage by any means, but I don't know, I'm giving you a good place to start. I have literally just the random pieces, and I'm going to stamp the, well actually if I'm honest, I intended to stamp directly over top of it, but when I used my little placement trick, I realized that I needed to diffuse some of the background through the stamp, because if I had just stamped right over top of it, all of that black and white would have just blended in too much to the stamp and you wouldn't have been able to see it. So I'm sealing the whole thing with some gel medium, and now I'm going to seal down my focal point, which is the Dina Wakley stamp from, I think it's Always Flowers, I think that's the name of it. And I'm going to set that aside to dry. Now we're going back to the second tag, and as you can see, I have a piece of tag that I had done some sewing on, and I've decided that I'm going to use that zigzag stitch as my stem. Like, this is so out of the box for me. I was so proud of myself for doing this. You guys have no idea, because I almost never use anything like this when I'm making tags. And you know what? I was pleased with the results. I need to do this more often. I used the rest of that masking tape on the leftover tag to cut out some leaves, and now I'm just gluing all that down. This tag was really bold, so I don't plan on adding really much else to that. You'll see in a minute. Once those are good and glued down with yet more gel medium, I'm going to move on to the second tag and finish it off. Someone had actually left a comment on one of my earlier videos saying that everyone has an artistic like nemesis or art supply nemesis. Mine apparently is gel medium, and theirs, I think she said, was the color sepia. That person could not be more correct. Like, gel medium is definitely my nemesis, and that was part of the reason why I wanted to use it in a more healthy way, I think. So you can see I took a random bird that had just a little bit of color to it. As much as I wanted to use a neutral, I couldn't just have all neutrals. I needed just a little pop of color. So that Dina Wakley bird was from my collage bank that I had made earlier from a while ago, and I needed to use it up. So now I'm going to add my sentiment from another Dina Wakley stamp set, and because that tag was just so busy, I decided that all it really needed was this little quote from her stamps, and I don't know, I think it finished it off really nice. So here we have all of the finished tags. That one's really pretty. I like that one, but that one I think is my favorite. I don't know, which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, I really like hearing from you and getting your feedback. Let me know if you make any of these tags or if any of these inspire you. Alright guys, thanks, and I'll see you next time.